It was a time when the sun never set on the British Empire. Kingdoms fell like dominoes before the might of their armies. But in a far corner of the world, in the shadow of the mighty Himalayas, a small kingdom dared to defy the world's greatest empire. This is the story of Nepal, the unconquered. The story of warriors who fought not just with swords, but with the mountains, the forests, and even the bees. The tale begins in the mid-18th century, when a young and ambitious king, Prithvi Narayan Shah, dreamed of uniting the fractured kingdoms of Nepal. He was no ordinary king, he was a visionary. Prithvi Narayan Shah said a quote, "We are a yam between two boulders, but this yam will not be crushed." Which in this case, yam simply meant to be land. And so, through cunning, diplomacy, and sheer force, he forged a nation. By the late 18th century, Nepal was strong, proud, and united, a fortress in the clouds. But peace was fleeting. To the south, the British East India Company eyed Nepal's fertile lands and trade routes with growing greed. British officer underestimated the Gurkhas and said that, "These Gurkhas think they're invincible? We'll show them the might of the British Empire." The British, emboldened by their conquests across India, were confident. They underestimated the resolve of the Nepalese people. The British started to head towards the Nepalese camp. A commander rallies his troops. Gurkha's commander said that the British come with their cannons and muskets, but we have the mountains. We have our spirit, and we have each other. Then what followed was a war unlike any other. The Anglo-Nepalese War began in 1814. The British forces, well-equipped and confident, expected a swift victory. Instead, they found themselves in a nightmare, the Battle of Nalapani. The British lay siege to a hilltop fort. Inside, Nepalese commander Balbhadra Kunwar stands tall despite the chaos. Balbhadra Kunwar said to the British commanders that, "If they will want this fort, they'll have to walk over our dead bodies." Outnumbered and outgunned, the Nepalese fought with unimaginable courage. When ammunition ran low, they used rocks. When rocks ran out, they used their fists, a tense moment. Nepalese soldiers roll a boulder down a steep cliff. It crashes into the advancing British troops. British soldiers started panicking and started to think that Nepalese are mad, and they screamed, saying, "Retreat." The infamous beehive attack. And then there was the attack that became legend. In a misty forest, British troops climb a narrow hill. High above, there were Nepalese soldiers who spot them, and they had no armor or weapons like guns and cannons to attack from distance. All they had was sword, fist, and stone, and mainly brain. The Gurkhas were in chaos and panicking, have no idea on what to do, suddenly massive beehives hanging from the cliffs. Commander said, "Let the bees do the fighting for us," and threw a stone on the beehive and moved to a safe place. With a single stone, the hive was shattered. Thousands of furious bees swarmed the soldiers, stinging and stinging until the British ranks broke in chaos. British officers started yelling and said, "Fall back, fall back." It wasn't just a retreat, it was humiliation. The British regroup, bringing in cannons and heavy reinforcements. The Nepalese retreat to higher ground. Snow begins to fall. The war raged on for 2 long years. The Nepalese, though fierce and resourceful, could not hold forever against the British artillery. And at last, a Treaty of Sugauli was signed on the mutual agreement between Nepal and British Empire. What do you think of the Nepali Gurkhas and their bravery? Write down in the comments. And if you haven't subscribed this channel, then subscribe it for more interesting information.